Hello, everyone. It's Mo from Mo in the Deep End, and we are covering the day two, hopefully the uncle and the son Kyle's testimony today. It is going to be rough testimony. I shame no one. If you guys need to watch on the replay crew, if you guys need to take breaks, if you guys just cannot watch this one because it's going to be, really rough, I completely and totally understand. This is not going to be easy testimony to sit through. So I completely understand if this is going to be a lower view day because these will not be easy testimony, just like Maya's testimony will not be easy. So if you guys need to take breaks, if you guys need to pause, if you guys need to turn this off for a little bit and do replay crew, I completely understand. We will have Frybert being an emotional sleep animal. I will try to add what I can, but this is not going to be the easiest testimony. So I put that out there knowing that if you guys need to, you are always, I completely understand if you need to take a break, go on, you know, go on a break, take a minute, put it on pause, do the repick crew. There is no shame in that. I completely understand. But let's get into
Or
this.
is there a way that you can put a mute switch that they can control?
I can remove them right now. I got just unplug.
I think those, yeah, for now. And then ultimately, if there's some way that they can have a button that they would have confidence that if they push it, that they know that it would stop the feed to that microphone. Is that possible?
It's possible.
And I know that we stopped it as they were in the middle of kind of discussing a couple
Okay, and plaintiffs, do you want
housekeeping
the one on your table unplugged as well?
housekeeping things. So I don't want to
Wrapped around
fast forward too much.
Okay, so you can leave it, but it's unplugged.
I can move this one if it's here. Sorry.
Did you know it was there? As long as it's unplugged, it doesn't scare me. I just, I'm just listening into our conversations.
Okay, I appreciate that. Now, then,
Good morning, Crime Spies.
I don't know if Court TV, are you tapping into the house audio for your feed, or is that you're using your own microphones?
I'm doing both. I'm sometimes listening to the house feed, or sometimes I'm also tapping into my own. So on the house feed, sometimes I might be hearing the back table, and once I start to hear a little bit of whisper, I kill the house, and I use my.
Okay. Then
perhaps pressing the mute button, right? In the back.
And just so the attorneys know that there are the buttons on, when I say our microphones, the microphones that come in the courtroom, that you should push the button if you want to have a private conversation with the others folks at your table. Anything else I can do to help you all out at this time, Court TV? Okay.
Apparently, Court TV is having all the issues.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
Okay, let's see if we can. I mean, we love the judge, but let's see if we can get.
Been four photos in, and none of these are duplicative. We would like the court to make a ruling at this point, cumulative.
How many photos are we talking about?
A total of 18, out of which they've agreed to 3 plus, so there's 15. To give the court some idea, Kyle and Maya playing as babies, Kyle and Maya in the pool, Kyle and Maya on a toy in front of the Venice sign, fishing in the backyard after Christmas, playing after school after ketamine, Kyle holding Maya as she dips in the water after the.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, things are a little bit wonky. I'm trying to use hashtags and I'm not quite sure if I'm doing it right.
They tell the story better having these, and they are all from different periods in their lives. There are none where there's like 3 of them at the same event. They're all single events, single periods of time.
Ms. Rose.
Judge, the objection is cumulative. I mean, there's no issue about the two of them having a relationship. There's no question about it's cumulative, Judge. There's like 28 photos they want to put in with Kyle.
They made the
Yes, I am
argument.
learning
that
hashtags.
Coming out of different points, strong, able to use her legs, not able to use her legs, that these different treatments were good for her and that she was doing so much better. The purpose of these photos is to demonstrate literally period by period how Maya
Clark
is an
Kent, you don't look
individual.
confused in the
I thought
background.
these were
Don't.
Photos of Kyle.
They are Kyle and Maya together. And they're also demonstrate, here's the thing. A lot of these are most photos are taken with both children in them. And it's just the kids growing up
Clark,
first.
don't look all
And then
confused.
after that, it's from different periods. After
I have my
children.
petty patch
That's the
on.
purpose of it.
Judge, it starts with them as a toddler and moving up.
All right, we're gonna, because I have a finite amount of time, we are going to go to the testimony. Now, I do believe this is the uncle. This is Beata's brother. And he found his sister. So like I said, this is going to be tough testimony. This is not going to be easy to hear. So I don't begrudge anyone that has to take a break, watch on replay crew, walk around, do what's best for your mental health.
Would you please state your name for the record?
Robert Reines.
And have you been called here to testify as Jack Kowalski's brother?
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Are you older or younger than Mr. Kowalski?
Younger.
By how many years?
About 5.5 years
Where'd you grow up?
in Chicago.
How many kids were in the Kowalski family?
Well, our extended family, my mother had 8 children.
Boys, girls?
6 boys, 2 girls. But we always had more in the house. We always had a cousin or we had a foster child at one point. So big loving family.
And you went to high school in
Okay,
Chicago?
I was wrong. This is Jack's
So Jack
brother.
would've graduated well ahead of you.
Yes.
Thank
And
you.
What did he go to work doing?
I might have spelt that wrong.
During high school, we had a fire cadet program through the fire department junior and senior year. Jack did that and got into the fire
Good
service.
morning, Jess.
And I eventually did the same thing.
Sounds
worked as a
good. Thank you so
volunteer
much,
up there.
Crime Spies.
He went on in his life to eventually get hired full time, and I took a different career path.
What was your career path?
I've had several, but I went into law enforcement instead of firefighting at that time,
And where were you in law enforcement?
up in Pinellas County, Tarpon Springs, Florida.
So you ended up from Chicago down here in Florida on law enforcement.
Yes,
And what roles were you serving in your law enforcement career?
I worked as a patrol officer for under a year until I made detective. And then I worked property crimes for just under a year again. And then I went into crimes against persons, which is all the nasty stuff, the sex abuse, the child abuse, the homicide, and the crimes against persons.
So in those 5 years, you learned how to spot child abuse.
Yes, sir, I did.
And why, after 5 years, did your law enforcement career end?
Burnout, really. You do that job and you're professional and you go to work every day. And I definitely left on good terms, but you go to work every day and then you do what you're supposed to do, but then you find yourself at home in the shower crying at night, and it takes a toll on you. And I had an offer at the time to go work for another company, and it was actually a little more money, and I decided that I was going to make that move.
And after you resigned from the force, did you leave Florida?
Yes, eventually. I went to work for that other company, and then in, I believe, 1997, I left Florida after my son was born,
And where'd you go?
up to Indiana.
And what kind of
Oh.
work did you do up in Indiana?
We went to Indiana mainly
Corn.
because I had 2 stepchildren and a newborn son, and my wife had family up in Indiana, lived out in the country, and we decided that would be a better place to raise the children.
The
So
only
we went
reason
up
you go
there
to
and I
Indiana
worked,
is because you
um,
know people in
as a
Indiana.
butcher, which is something I've done since I was young on the side. I've always worked in butcher shops, and then also auto, marine, and airplane upholstery work, which is what my father and uncles all did. So I've always done that on the side as well.
So at this point in your life, you're living in Indiana. Is Jack still in Chicago at this point?
Yes,
And it was during this period that Jack met Beata.
yes.
And
Closed
living in
captions,
Indiana,
pick a
how far
spelling.
away were you from the Chicago area?
We're in Fort Wayne, so just a couple hours, about 2-hour drive.
So you had opportunity to regularly meet and interact with Jack and Beata together.
Yes, because my mother was still in Chicago. I had a couple brothers up there, so we frequently visited.
What was your first impression of Beata?
I loved her. She's just she was just a wonderful person. I respected her because she was very to the point. She didn't hold any punches. She told you how she was feeling. But she was just a loving, sweet person. Loved to teach me how to make pierogies, and she was a great person.
How would you describe their relationship?
Beautiful. We, coming from a big family, my mom raised
Say
us,
peas and carrots.
We were always taught to love each other and respect each other and respect everybody. And, that's why we got into careers like we did, firefighting and law enforcement, because we help each other and we help other people. And Beata was that same way. And my wife is a nurse, and those are the people we've always chose to surround ourselves with, are people like us. And I'm sorry, I don't even remember what your original question was.
That's right. So your wife was a nurse and Beata was a nurse.
Yes,
So you and Jack had that in common.
yes,
And Yada was in for the
Were you
love
there
of
for
all
their
that's
wedding,
holy.
Jack and Beata?
yes.
Good
I was
morning,
with
Go
us then.
Straight.
And where was that?
That was in Illinois.
In Chicago?
Mhm.
Do you recall what year?
Ooh, now you're really going to tug at me here. No, I don't recall exactly what. Yeah, I think it was like 2004, 2003.
Were you there when Maya was born or around that time?
Not there when she was born, but shortly afterwards, obviously, to visit.
How'd Beata strike you as a new mom?
Just, she was holding the light of her life in her hands every time you saw her. Just as proud as any mother could be.
And
Oh,
then
this is
Kyle
gonna be
came, what,
tough.
2 years later?
Mhm.
And you're still living in Indiana as Kyle and Maya are growing up in Chicago.
Yes.
How often would you see them on a yearly basis, if you had to
Um,
estimate?
Obviously all the holidays and birthdays and things like that, we'd get together. So probably, at least a half dozen to a dozen times a year.
And how would you describe Jack and Beata together as parents when Kyle and Maya were young in Chicago?
Just a great couple. Um, Jack's my best friend. He found the light of his life, and he was happy, and they were great together.
I do like this lawyer's
So as he was
style of questioning
approaching
better.
retirement from the fire department, did he talk to you about a desire to move to Florida?
Mhm.
And he beat you back to Florida, is that right?
Yeah, he did.
So they moved to Florida in around 2014. You were still doing work in Indiana in the
Yes.
upholstery business, aircraft upholstery business at that point?
Yes.
Was there a particular job that brought you down to Florida around that time?
Yeah, I had friends in Florida in the aviation business, and a friend of mine who managed business jets for people. So if somebody has a business jet, they'll typically hire a management company to take care of all the FAA paperwork and that kind of thing and maintenance. And he called me and he says, we have this jet that we manage that needs a complete upholstery job in it. And he says, I'd like you to bid on it. And I was a little shocked at first. I said, I don't live down there. And he said, bid on it. He said, it's good money. So I bid on the job, and it was worth my while to go down there and do the job. So I set up a trailer with sewing machines and everything and went down there and did the job. And that started my move to Florida. Because
Oh
it was
goodness,
stressful.
I know the
Where was
feeling.
that work? Which airport?
In Lakeland, Florida.
And were you living in Lakeland or were you living in Venice at that time?
At that time, we had a big motor home. So I have another brother who lives in Lakeland. So I brought the motor home down.
Hey.
I was actually living in the motor home.
Don't knock having big families. You have a family of 8 brothers. Look, someone's going to owe you a kidney, part of a liver, and you'll always have a place to stay with someone. I'm just saying. I always tell my kids that. I'm like, don't be mean to your siblings. You might need a kidney one day or a place to crash. Now that wisdom has not gone far, but
While I was working at his,
I do say
the
that.
motorhome was at his house.
And did Kyle and Maya have opportunity to come over and see you in your aviation business in Lakeland?
Yes, especially Kyle.
What do you remember about that?
Kyle loved to fly. I flew back and forth every day. Well, at that time, I didn't have my plane in the early stages. But Kyle loved airplanes, and he would come out and help me. I was building a new shop, and he came and helped me build all the tables to put the sewing machines in. And, we spent a lot of time together. Just a great, happy little kid.
What's he call you, by the way? What's Kyle call you?
Uncle Bob.
Uncle Bob. Did Maya fly with you as well?
Yes, eventually, yeah.
She wasn't as big of a fan as Kyle.
No, I think she had a good time.
Okay. The job you mentioned that brought you down to Florida, who was the client or the customer for that job?
The owner of the jet, I remember his first name was Eduardo. They owned some banks in Mexico, but the pilot is who I dealt with, and his name was Abraham.
Good morning, Sal.
And I'm going to fast forward here for a moment in the timeline because you're doing this work in the upholstery business for the pilot Abraham in 2014, 2015.
Mm-hmm.
And just for a moment, just to fast forward a couple of years, in late 2015, Maya went down to Mexico for treatment. You were aware of that?
Yes.
And can you tell the jury what the connection was there with Abraham and Maya's treatment in Mexico?
Abraham and his family lived in Monterrey, Mexico, which is where the hospital was that they were going to. He immediately, when I told him the story of what was going on, he immediately said, put me in touch with them and I will take care of everything when they get to Mexico. Abraham and his family met them at the hospital, and they were there for him the whole time. anything they needed in Mexico. Gave Maya a big stuffed animal bear.
Hey, I do like, this trial is tough. This trial sucks all the donkey balls, to use my favorite quote. But in there are little pieces of the absolute kindness of strangers and humanity. I mean, here is this gentleman who really doesn't know Maya, doesn't know her family from Adam, other than tangentially through this guy who kind of helps with his airplane and things like that. And here he is offering his house, use of the airplane. So while this case does stink, and that we still have these glimpses of the real power of human kindness in here.
Um,
Do you recall if Maya, Jack, Beata were able to bring that bear back to Florida with them?
No, that's kind of a funny story because it was this big, real soft, big teddy bear, and it was too big for them to bring back on the commercial flight. So Abraham had to bring the plane back to me to finish things up, and he put the bear in the nose cone of the jet in a little storage compartment and flew the bear back up to Lakeland, Florida. And Jack and Maya came out
So
and met us.
the man on the stand is her uncle, the person that allowed them to stay in his house and during the hospital stay, the parents and stuff. Was not related. I guess he's the one that the uncle works on his private jet, is the pilot, from what I'm understanding.
Us at the airport there, and we wheeled Maya up to the plane and opened the nose cone, and the bear just kind of fell out for her. It was just a cute moment.
Don't you make me cry. I actually didn't wear eyeliner
I'd like to
today because I'm not
show
going to do it. Don't you do
Mr.
it.
Rhina's, what's been
Freaking
admitted
Facebook.
as Exhibit 2530-020. We publish.
Freaking Facebook with those puppy videos. And this, I'm going to get a Sarah McLachlan moment. You won't make me do
Yep.
it.
That's Maya getting her teddy bear, and that's Abraham.
So the gentleman there handing her the teddy bear is Abraham,
Yes,
and Maya in the wheelchair.
yes,
Is that his plane right there in the background?
yes, with the hatch open on the right.
What kind of plane was it? Do you remember?
It was a Cessna Citation, or I'm sorry, a Cessna Mustang.
And this photo is January 30th, 2016. Does that sound right?
Yes,
So this was after her ketamine treatment in Mexico,
yes.
a month or two after. That's good. Thank you. All right. So I fast forward there to show the teddy bear coming back, but let's back it up a little bit. You relocate to Florida initially for this job in 2014, 2015. Did there come a time when you moved to Venice permanently?
Yeah, I think, once I started my second job, my wife worked in a surgery center up in Indiana, and we both immediately started talking about making a move to Florida. So we actually found a house in Jack's little circle. The neighborhood he lives in, it's really a unique neighborhood because
I will have to
all of the neighbors in there.
I will have
know
to
each other,
figure
and
that.
they
I will
all
have to
hang
go
out
get some.
together,
And then I'll have to learn how to apply it
So we-
properly. So they're
we wanted
twins,
that
not
neighborhood,
vague, distant
and there was one
relatives.
house for sale, and we came down to look at it, and the night before we got there, it went under contract. So we were a little heartbroken, but they were starting a new subdivision right across the street, and we ended up buying a spec home right inside the gate. So we were still probably less than a quarter mile from Jack, right across the street.
So Jack couldn't get away from you.
No, I found one.
And so this was, if I'm tracking, is early 2016 when you bought that house.
Yes.
And by this point, based on your observations, was Maya in pain?
After the Mexico, she was doing much better. She was greatly improving.
That is a good idea
Uh,
too. Q-tips and eyeliner at
You had seen
Walmart.
her. You had seen her before the Mexico
Yeah,
trip.
because I was coming down, doing the jobs on there.
So I do wonder how much weight the jury is going to give him because of if I were a juror, if I would definitely put more weight on his testimony given the fact that he used to work human or people related crimes and he had to deal with the abuse cases, that kind of stuff. He, I would think, would be more clued in on sort of abuse signals, signs, that kind of thing. Regardless of it being his family member, I would think that he would be at least a little more clued in on if something hinky was going down, to use the Scooby-Doo phrase. So, if I'm a juror, I'm going to look at that. Now, I don't know how that's gonna go into the calculus of this definitely being, segmented into was the hospital doing everything right versus, the Department of Family Services.
Airplanes. And even though I was in Lakeland, I would come over and visit. We would get together. But after Mexico, there was definite improvement. She was working hard to get better.
I need to write this down
As
they need to make legal pad
went
Post-it
on,
notes.
Summer. It's almost a school year. Did her pain return?
Doodads.
Yeah.
What can you tell the jury about that?
I read Maya's face a lot. And you can tell when somebody's in pain. I have a lot of pain and neurological issues myself, and there was a day that stands out, and I think it was probably like September of 16, where we were at Jack's house, and the kids from the neighborhood, and there may have been a niece or nephew there, and Kyle and Maya, and everybody was in the pool and having a good time, and Maya was on a floaty, and I was just sitting there with my feet in the pool after a while watching the kids, and I could see as time went on she was hurting more and more, and she's a lot like her mom. She's a tough girl, and she wanted to stay in the pool with the kids, so she tried to fight through that and tried to stay in the pool as long as she could, but it finally got to the point where she couldn't take it anymore, and she floated over to me and she said, "Uncle Bobby, I need to get out of the pool." She says, "I hurt real bad." So I picked her up and I carried her in the house.
Was it shortly after that she went to Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital?
Yeah, I'm not sure of the exact date, but yes.
Bless you, woman, for you have the patience of a
Did
saint.
you ever accompany Maya or Jack or Beata to any of her treatments?
No, unfortunately, I wasn't allowed to.
So she goes into Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital. How did you first learn that she wasn't going to be coming home soon?
Jack and I talked every day, and he called me and told me, he says, "They took Maya." And I said, "What do you mean they took Maya?" And he says, "They took custody of Maya. They took her away from us." And me, like him, and everybody else, like Maya, like Beata, everybody was in shock, not understanding what just happened.
How would you describe your brother's reaction knowing that she couldn't come home?
Fear, which is something I've never seen on Jack's face before. I've seen him do stuff on the fire department that most people in this world would never try, dangling off of water towers and stuff. And I've never seen fear on his face. but it was just, he was scared. For the first time I saw my brother really, truly scared.
I'm going to interject here. So last year, I don't know how many of you have watched my channel. We had a situation where I just gotten diagnosed and they had started me on every single thing ever. And I went from taking no medication to all of the nerve medication. And I was doing okay, but it makes you fairly sleepy and all that. So I at that time, I packed all the boys' lunches, and the boys, being children, they wanted to have school lunch, so they would stuff their lunches in our little, kind of locker area where they put their book bags, and instead of the school reaching out to me saying that their school lunches didn't have sandwiches or anything like that, they decided to buy the school lunches for a week and then call CPS. After interrogating the boys and the boys telling them, innocently for the boys, but they're like, mommy's on pills and she's sleeping a lot and, all that. And you will never feel more I have never been scared spitless. And I thought that that was just kind of a literary tool, more so than when you are in your kitchen with someone with the weight of the government, telling you, "Hey, you have to take this, over the counter test," having to bring out your tub o medicine from the doctor, having to explain what you have and knowing that barely anyone has this, having to write down all of your doctor's numbers, and realizing that the power of the government can split up your family. I mean, I have never felt so small, so terrified in my entire life as a parent. And, so that fear is very real. I've lived that moment. I've not lived his moment, obviously. His moment is much bigger than mine, but I understand that
Same question.
overwhelming
What about Beata? How'd she react?
just terror
Angry.
and anger.
Jack and Beata were a little different in that respect, where Beata was, like I said, she would tell you how she feels, and Jack was kind of the opposite of that, where he would tell you how he feels, but
Well, that was this year,
just a
Sal.
different reaction where Beata was mad
That was last year,
and scared, and but
which is
different
why the
anger.
boys are now currently in a new school.
What about your nephew Kyle?
He was just a little boy. He was devastated, His sister, and they were close. They, a lot of little kids don't play together. They were in that pool all the time. They did everything together, and so at 8 years old, I think he was at the time, he lost his best friend.
And
I
how
don't
do you
know the
explain
word.
that to a little brother? How do you explain that, the state thinks your parents are hurting your sister? I mean, because all he's seen is, and as a parent, I can't imagine. Look, if you're a parent, you always have parent guilt. So I'm sure the parents are feeling guilty for, having to expend all this energy on Maya, worrying that they're not giving energy to the stepdaughter and, uh, you know, Kyle and, worried that Kyle's getting left behind. And then you have this awful situation where, again, worried that Kyle's life is getting interrupted. And, you know, it's just,
unbelievable.
I have learned many,
And
many
you were
things.
aware
and-
at this
but
point that the accusations,
just to make a long story short, this year, second year of school, same principal who apparently was very angry that nothing happened last year, decided to call CPS because middle son wore the same shirt to school 2 days in a row. I took them out of that school. Indiana is great. It has basically the school funding voucher system goes with a child. They are now in a wonderful, wonderful school. It's Christian, but it's also a wonderful school that is close. The only problem is I am now the school bus, so it's kind of switched around scheduling a little bit for me, but they are no longer in that school system. So the most vulnerable children that could be interrogated without, any advocacy for ourselves or my family are out of that school system. The other ones were not interested in wearing skirts that cover their knees. So
By the hospital where that Beata had this condition and was a child abuser.
Yes.
Drawing off of your experience as a detective with child abuse investigations, had you ever seen any signs of child abuse in the Kowalski home? Jack Kowalski.
Objection, lift approach.
I think that was a perfectly reasonable question to ask. I can see why the hospital doesn't want you to ask that, but it seems like a perfectly reasonable question to ask as far as I'm concerned. I'm glad someone just brought toilet paper. I'm about ready to get toilet paper too. But yeah, the public school system, don't get me started. We will have to have look, if you go back in my old things, I may or may not have had an entire petty teacher rant where I pulled up a bunch of drunk teachers getting caught on the school and had a whole petty day or a whole petty stream where I just made fun of teachers getting caught for bad stuff. So that's a stream you can watch. Because I was
When
big
Maya was
hot
in the
mad.
hospital, did you submit your name for a background check so that you could be a supervised visitor at the hospital?
Yes, I did.
Was your background check approved?
Yes.
Were you allowed to visit?
No, I was not.
Did the hospital ever give you a reason why?
Objection.
Overrule that question.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Did the hospital ever give you a reason why you weren't allowed to visit?
They didn't think it was a good idea.
Objection, Your Honor. Can we approach?
Because they were dicks. I mean, can he say that? Because I would say that. Again, this is why you don't want Mo as a witness, because I would say things like that. Be like, well, in my professional opinion, it was because they were being dicks. Reasons lawyers won't put me on. Yeah, believe me, it's National Bullying Month. My son comes home crying because people are making fun of his name, and I call the teacher, and she's like, "Yeah, well, he said something, and we've talked to people." And I was like, "So if I encourage my son to, do something, well, we don't encourage. We have a zero tolerance for, retribution." And I was like, "Well, um." Okay, I don't see how this is all right. I don't think you understand how this really works in the real world, but okay.
Okay, the objection is sustained. Members of the jury, that last question and answer, you're going to disregard.
As a juror, I'd be like, remember this shit.
How long was
No, I'm
Maya
just
in
kidding.
the hospital?
I
Good
honestly
morning,
don't
Murph.
recall. Several months.
Did you ever have the opportunity to visit her in the hospital?
No, I did not.
Who were you getting reports from during that time about Maya's condition?
Mostly Jack.
During the 3 or so months that Maya was in the hospital, how was Beata doing?
She was struggling. She was researching a lot about the disease, just struggling, trying to figure out how to get her baby home.
How was your brother doing?
Trying to hold the family together. In such an ugly situation, he tried to be the strong one and keep Kyle going and keep Beata on track, and just he was struggling.
Yes, I can offer you no advice.
January.
This is all for
8th,
entertainment. I'm a
2017.
redhead on
Is
the
that date of
internet.
significance to you?
Yes,
I should be no one's life guru, even my own.
Can you describe how you woke up that morning?
Jack,
Hey, I'm going to pause this
Jack
real
called me.
quick and go get some tissue because this is probably going to be bad. So I'll be right back. 1 second, puppy. All right, Freiberg, come do your job. Be an emotional support puppy, not a. Am I going to have to pick you up for serialness? You get the zoomies at 4 o'clock in the morning. You are just so lazy. Hey, I'm just so lazy. It's just so lazy. Say, hold me, mommy. Hold me. Draw me like your French women. Okay.
So
We are now
Beata
set.
just
I have
on
toilet
herself,
paper. Do not eat my petty patch.
and you need to get over here right away.
Did
So
you did you rush over?
Yes, immediately. I told my wife, Beata hung herself. I'm going to Jack's, and I took off across the street.
Sir.
And you went into the house?
Yes,
Did you go in through the front door or the garage?
front door.
Where was Kyle?
Kyle was near the laundry room door, which is just to the right of the front door. And he was trying to get into the garage. Jack was yelling, Kyle, no, you can't go in there. He was trying to keep him back.
Can I stop you there?
Mhm.
Your Honor, we'd like to, at this point, publish 2615 and allow the jury.
Oh, don't show Kyle. Come on, guys. Don't do.
Is it in evidence?
It is, Your Honor.
You may.
Fry, you are not being helpful. You are being biteful. All right, that's it. Emotional support.
17 set an hour, 57 minutes, and 38 seconds. Damn.
911, what's the location of your emergency?
Hung herself.
What's the address? What city are you in?
Venice. Closest road is Lee Road. And Venice.
Is there a name to the neighborhood?
Kyle.
What's the phone number that you're calling from?
I'll give you my cell.
Tell me exactly what happened.
She hung herself in the garage. No.
Stay on the line. Are you with her now?
Well, I'm in the garage.
How old is she?
42.
Is she awake? I just
No,
have to verify.
She's
Is
stiff.
she-
She's stiff. She's
Jesus
stiff.
Christ, I hate these
Oh my
911
God.
callers. I mean,
No, Kyle, you can't go in there.
Okay, tell me why she looks like she's dead.
No, she's not. I'm a retired deputy fire chief. I know she is.
Do you think she's beyond any help?
Beyond, yes, rigor I'm sure she's really
Okay.
stiff.
I'm sending I'm sending someone to assist you. Please.
okay. Imagine had he not said, "I'm a retired deputy." She'd have kept asking these ridiculous. Look, I know she has to ask ridiculous damn questions, but for F's sake, can I have yet to hear very few 911 calls that do not make me want to reach out and touch someone in a not happy way, allegedly. I can do rage. I don't do sadness well.
Leave everything as you found it.
I'm
Is
not
there
touching
anything
her.
we can do for you?
Okay, just please get somebody here.
They're on their way.
I'm gonna bring my son to my neighbors there. Call my neighbor.
Okay. Can you tell me the address there one more time? Okay, they're on their way.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Okay, and I would just like to go back to that son of a bitch lawyer for opening for the defense that said if the mom had I know they have to do it. I know they have to do it. But I would like to go back to that son of a bitch who said that if the mom had agreed to send Maya to the other thing, none of this would have happened. He could have had a completely okay defense had he not put that line in there. He knew this stuff was coming in and he had to put that line in there because he was a son of a bitch. And I stick by that. I don't generally like to curse all the time. I mean, I have a deep and abiding love for the F word, but I try not to do it in my streams. But
What'd you do with Kyle when you got there?
I grabbed Kyle and I asked Jack if he could call the fire department. And just told him I'm getting Kyle out of here. And I scooped up Kyle and he's just a skinny little boy, and I grabbed him and took him home, and we sat in a chair in my living room for probably 6 or 8 hours crying.
Did you see Jack the rest of that day?
Oh, I'm sure I did when I brought Kyle back, or I don't recall honestly.
Maya was still at Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital.
Yeah.
yeah, and wait till they show the text messages between the nurses after the mom passed away, where they're like, well, we still did the right thing.
How long was it after that morning?
Look,
Yeah,
y'all,
Maya
I do
came home from the
rage much
hospital.
better than sadness.
Not long at all. I don't remember how many days, but it was pretty quick.
So emotionally, we can all guess how Maya was at that point.
Yeah.
How was she physically when she came home out of the hospital?
Horrible. She had been getting so much better, and just to see her going from, improving every day to coming home and her feet were all turned inward, her toes were pointing at each other. Again, just looking at her face, the amount of pain in that child, I think it was worse than I had ever seen at that point.
So stepping back, and comparing Maya physically to where she was in late September, early October of 2016 before she went in the hospital. In January 2017, when she comes out of the hospital, was she better or worse?
She was far worse coming out of the hospital.
What'd you do to support your brother in the next days and weeks?
I closed my shop down and I stayed with him. I think I closed my shop probably for a couple months, and I stayed with him every day and helped him with paperwork, cleaning the house, cooking meals, whatever it took, just anything, just to be there for him.
As the Kowalskis grappled with their new life, did you have the opportunity to observe Maya physically rehabilitate herself?
Yeah, and she lost her mother, so she was obviously emotionally in a different place. But from a physical standpoint, she's a lot like a mother. She was just very determined, and she was going to work hard, and she wanted out of that wheelchair, and she wanted to walk again. And she worked out constantly through the pain. I would see her on the floor in front of her wheelchair doing exercises with tears coming out of her eyes, but she would fight right through it. And then one day, after she had finally gotten up on crutches, one day I come over and she's loading up her book bag, not to go to school, but she's putting all kinds of books in her book bag, and she put it on her back just to walk down the street to her friend Riley's house on her crutches. And she wanted that extra weight on her back for exercise in the practice.
Because she wanted to
go back
show those
school.
sons of bitches.
She's a tough kid. And I love you, Maya.
How about your nephew?
Stop cutting
Kyle? How'd you
onions.
do in the 6 months, year after he lost his mother?
Very introverted. I mean, how does any kid do knowing that they're never going to see their mother again? He struggled. He was very quiet, stayed in his room, didn't interact much with anybody. And I think it was, he was trying to grieve internally. And then he eventually, long term, getting to the point where he is now, he fishes. That's his outlet. He likes to fish. It's his place to get away, I think.
Send this
Maya
boy a
immersed herself
boat.
in her school books when she got back to school, and Kyle immersed himself in fishing. And Jack immersed himself in helping people again.
Friberto, I see you have a
I think
sock.
he
I'm
just,
letting it go
like
for
I
now.
said, eventually turned to fishing to have his quiet time and to deal with this.
And my last question, your brother Jack, how has he changed since losing Beata?
He's changed the most, and he hides it the most. He's not as funny as he
For
used
the
to be.
love of no. That's a
Um,
no.
he's a dad and a mom, and he's the best father I've ever known.
Oh, sir,
He's
get
always
the.
been the best father I've
There's
ever
a.
known.
Okay, you gotta.
But taking
Sir,
on the
the-
role of being a mother as well for those children, there's nobody in this world that could have done it better. He will do anything for his children. Um, he, again, needed some kind of an outlet, and I kind of did too with the pain issues I was going through.
If you, there's just a,
So I think for my last 5 years living in
Okay.
Florida, I saw Jack more than my wife, literally, because we would get up every morning and go get coffee at Wawa and sit down and have a sandwich and talk to a couple vets that would sit out there every morning, and we'd kind of hang out with them. And then we would go help neighbors, whether it be painting baseboards in their house or painting their house, or we kept busy helping people, because that's what we were always taught to do. But he's changed in the sense of, I keep going back to humor thinking about this. Not that you're not funny anymore. He's a very serious person because he knows the struggles he has raising 2 children alone. I'm glad I was there for him. I'm glad he was there for me. I think we helped each other a lot, but he's different. He's just probably doesn't socialize as much. I know he doesn't socialize as much as he used to.
is there not a
There
trash
used to be a
can near
lot more
the
gatherings
table?
in the neighborhood and everything that there
Wait,
is
he's a
now,
teen
and
boy. He
he was
wouldn't
always a
go to the
big
trash
part of
can.
them. That neighborhood kind of became my community as well.
Your witness.
Okay, jerk faces. Where's my petty patch? Let's go.
Morning, sir.
Hi, how are you?
Good. I just have a couple of questions for you.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to bring you back to the trip to Mexico.
Mhm.
With regard to that photograph with the teddy bear and coming back, is it your understanding that that was from the second trip to Mexico when they went back for a booster?
I do not recall honestly what the date was on that.
Okay, you recall that they did go back to Mexico a second time.
Objection.
Legal basis.
Not facts, not evidence.
Overruled.
I don't recall.
Okay, that's fine. And then let's talk about Maya's condition leading up to going to the admission at All Children's in October.
Mhm.
Okay. You would agree, sir, that she was in a significant amount of pain, expressed pain prior to that admission, correct?
She was in pain, but it was greatly getting better. She was getting better every day.
Okay. Are you aware, sir, of all the ketamine treatments that she was getting in the week leading up to that admission?
I knew there were treatments, and I don't know at what point I learned about ketamine specifically.
Sure. Sure. So are you aware that she was going to see Dr. Hannah on 9/27, 9/28,
He's the uncle. He's not the
9/29,
mother. He's not going to
9/30,
know all of
October
this.
5th and October 6th for ketamine treatments?
No, I knew she saw Dr. Hannah. I don't know dates of her appointments.
Roberto.
And just briefly, sir, about not being able to see Maya while she was in the hospital. Sir, you're aware that there were various court orders that were entered, or are you aware that there were various court orders that were entered regarding visitation?
I'm aware that I was notified that
Sir, I don't want
had
to,
permission,
I'm just asking if you're aware of the court orders. Yes or no?
that there were court orders that there was no visitation
Regarding visitation.
for other people, not for me.
Okay, sir. And all of your communications with regard to whether or not you could visit Maya were with DCF personnel, correct?
the conversations about whether or not I could visit my,
We're with DC, so yes or no, sir? We're with all
I'm
DCF
trying to recall.
personnel.
Please give me a second.
Sure.
It's a long time ago.
Could you stop being a major
I can't say all of them, but I know some of them were.
dick
Um,
to him?
I don't recall if there were any with anybody that, I don't even know who worked for the hospital. I know I did have conversations with people that work for the state.
Yes, sir. Thank you. 1 minute. Nothing further here.
Any redirect?
Well, I love how nothing was the hospital's fault. So the hospital's going to blame DCF. The DCF's going to blame the hospital, and no one does nothing. I love it. It's amazing. It's beautiful. It's been a.
Sir,
This has been.
just to confirm, during the 3.5 months that I was in hospital, you submitted your information for a background check.
Yes,
That background check was approved.
yes,
You never had the opportunity to see mine in the hospital.
correct.
Thank you.
Anything further?
No, you're.
Members of the jury, do you all have any questions for this witness? If so, just raise your hand. Seeing no hands, sir, you can go ahead and be excused. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
I do like that they're letting the jury ask questions. So this next one is going to be Kyle again. This is going to be another just dead awful.
And if you're next witness, please.
This will be Kyle Kowalski.
So, you know, again, you guys know yourselves. If you need to take a break, if you need to be on, would you stop eating cords, Sir Bert? I understand you are a puppy.
Kyle Kowalski, come on down, sir.
But you know, you guys know you. So if you need to take a break, no shame at all. Take care of yourselves.
Yes.
If not, we have the emotional support feral puppy doing feral things, and we have our mom is a cheapskate, will not buy Kleenex, but we have toilet paper, Kleenex.
State your name for the record.
Kyle Kowalski,
Who's your sister?
Maya Kowalski,
Who's your dad?
Jack Kowalski,
And who is your mom?
Beata Kowalski.
Where do you live?
We live in a subdivision in Venice named Stonewall.
Okay. And do you recall about how long you've been there in Stonewall?
Yeah, we've been there since 2014.
Now, were you born in Florida or were you born someplace else?
I was born in Chicago and we moved when I was around 7 years old to Florida.
How much do you remember about Chicago?
I remember some events, but nothing major.
Okay. Let me show you, Judge, what's been previously agreed to at 25-28-041. May we publish?
Yes.
And is that you as a baby? I know you probably don't remember that one, but.
Yes.
Do you remember
that's
your
your
baby
mom.
pictures?
All right. Now, have you since learned that your mom had some difficulties with you when you were born?
Yes, I have found that out.
What was up with you?
She had there was problems with her getting pregnant, and then when I was born, I also had neonatal thrombocytopenia, which is where I lacked platelets.
Okay. And did your mom help with that treatment?
Yes, she very much did.
What happened?
Well, the only platelets that I would accept would be from her, but since she just gave birth, she wasn't technically allowed to give platelets. So she checked herself out of the hospital, and she did the platelets.
Came back and
Yes,
with the blood?
correct. Yes.
Okay. And you remember your mom growing up in Chicago?
Yes, I do.
Let me show you 25-28-007. Published, Your Honor?
Are these photos and evidence?
They are.
Then yes.
Okay. Is that your mom as a younger person?
Yes, it is.
Oh my gosh, does he look exactly
This
like
one
his
is not.
mother?
Yes, it's on the ones that we agreed to.
I'll let the attorneys come forward, please.
Oh, for the love of all that is Cheetos, you're not going to let a picture of the mother in, of all the petty, ridiculous crap. Look, you know what? Hospital, if you don't want to be painted as evil as hell, just let the picture of the mother who he looks exactly like in. Is it going to hurt your case? No. No, it's not. Now, I have to admit, my inner Hank Hill is screaming, boy, get your hair cut and come sell propane and propane accessories with me. That being said, he's being very calm, cool, and collected on the stand, even though I know this has to be so incredibly difficult for him.
Jury, we're going to take a very quick recess. I need you to leave your notes here in the Redwells, and we'll call you back in just a couple of minutes.
Oh, for the love of all that is, they are really going to have a grown-up argument about frickin' this picture, and I am going to lose my god dang shit about go full on Boomhauer, just full on ridiculousness of having a tantrum over a picture of his mom coming in.
Okay. Jury's out of our presence. Lance, what 10? Oh, I thought you all had told the other side. 10 are on top.
I love Razor Fist.
2528-041.
Look, Mr. Mo knows that should anything happen to him, Razor Fist is on the short list of possible replacement husbands. But Razor Fist also knows how to do better eyeliner than me, so he's, there are pros and cons.
2528-077. 2528-106. 2528-081. 2528-117. That's the first 5.
What was the first one again?
Hey,
2528-what?
he and
041.
Sticks are the same
And then
person.
The next 5 come from 2530, and they're 2530-003.
We will have to see. I'm still doing a bunch of stuff.
041.
Does chat mind if we skip them arguing about a picture?
We have one video.
Oh, for the love of
Let's
God.
deal with those 10 photos first.
No objection.
Okay, so the court's going to receive 2528-041, 077, 106, 081.
That's how you know they're not the same
117.
person, Bobby.
Clerk, get that?
Although
Also,
we've
the
never
court will
seen them in the
receive
same place at the same time.
003, 006, 027, 041, and 050. You receive those? What's next?
There is one video. It is 2698. It's a video of Kyle and Maya playing in the pool, August 11th, 2016.
Defense objects, Your Honor, cumulative irrelevance.
Relevant material to Maya's physical capabilities. They're paddling around. You can see her legs, her arms, and you can see her also interacting with her brother and her brother's relationship with her. Relevant material to both damages and physical.
Go ahead and play it. Sean. With the sound if there's any.
I mean, so for CRPS, if she was able to do this after ketamine treatments for full body, I can tell you just for me, just with my left leg involved, all of those things, sitting, being touched closely on the pool float, going from a sensation of going from a plastic kind of, when you sit on those vinyl plastic floats and then you kind of have to scooch off, You know, just that friction, just going into the water, again, that different sensation. If she was having a flare day or a lot of pain, there is no way she was able to do that. So this is direct evidence that the ketamine was helping. I mean, the fact that she was able to do this and not being screaming horrible pain. Now, like I told you, at least for me, CRPS, I'm at a mild 4 to 5 daily. Like that's my base, and that's what they tell you to do. Like right now I'm on my desk elliptical. Hopefully I want to work up to getting a standing desk and have a walking pad under it eventually. I will still probably always have a limp. I have kind of lost the ability to my foot doesn't flex all the way, so I don't have all of the range of motion. She could have been powering through, but what I'm telling you is that if she were having a flare day, if she was above her baseline, she could do none of this. Now, what her uncle did say is that she was able to tough through to a certain point. So this is a market improvement from her being in a wheelchair at the first part of, at least from the opening statements, where she could barely move her arms. So this is, I think, at least tangible proof that the ketamine treatments, regardless of how you feel about those, they were doing something. Unless this was before she got hurt at all. I don't know. They haven't put a timestamp on this. But you are true. That is true, Bobby. It could be a little bit of both. Okay, it does look like it's after she got hurt because that's the wheelchair.
I think this is about it. Oh, the date of it.
But I mean, as someone that has CRPS, what I can tell you, at least in my leg, is that this is something that I have to work on if I'm going to go into the water. Looking forward to doing water aerobics and things like that. The sensation of having the water move, also having splashing around you, that things like that. The different sensations are going to be would be something that would send me personally over and cause a real pain loop spike. But that's just me.
August 11th, 2016.
A little less than 2
Yeah.
months before the admission at Johns Hopkins.
Yeah, I wish they would have had, again, this goes back to my kind of gripe that this defense team isn't better prepared. But these are things that I noticed just because these are things that would send me over personally.
What was the objection? It was cumulative and relevant. So it was planning on putting it in
I mean, I'm actually hurting just thinking about it.
Well, with respect to the relevance, the court finds that it is relevant and that it does show Maya's capabilities approximately 2 months prior
Stop
to
smirking.
her admission. And so I don't think we're at the cumulative point at this.
I don't have a nickname for you yet, ma'am, but I will come up with
Admit
one.
the entire clip. If they want to play only a portion, that's them, but I'm going to admit the entire, the court will receive the entirety of 2698. Did I get that number right? So I'll receive 2698, Madam Clerk.
Anything else before we bring the jury back in?
No, Your Honor. And the error before was that there was a miscommunication. I thought I said 07. I said it was 077. So 07 was the one that came up with Beata as a young woman. I apologize. I just went with it. But 077 is actually John Deere Toy with Maya and Kyle. So my apologies, just a miscommunication between me and the.
Let's bring in the jury.
The video's still on.
It is no longer up. Jurors entering.
You know, Judge, I don't know why you're hanging on to those 4 hairs in front. Look, I'm not trying to shame or anything. I just, personal choice, I don't quite get it.
Okay, please be seated. Members of the jury, I want to confirm while you were away, you did not discuss this case amongst yourselves. You did no investigation. You received no information. Is that all correct? Now, let me make a statement. You're seeing a lot of exhibits. I will tell you, when you deliberate, you will have all exhibits available to you. So don't think that this is the only time that you'll ever get to see an exhibit. And there's going to be times that we do not publish exhibits, but you will have all exhibits available to you during your deliberations. Mr. Anderson, you may continue.
Like Kyle, before we were talking a little bit about your memories of you and your sister. Have you been close since you can remember?
Yes, Maya and I have always been close. She was my best friend. She was there since I was born, so we did pretty much everything together.
Let me show what's previously been marked into evidence as 2528077, permission to publish.
You may.
Now, what I want to find out, was this your place back up in Chicago?
Yes, that's correct.
And you and your sister are entering a mudding race, or this is one of the toys, this is just you two playing?
Yeah, so this used to be our favorite thing to do back in Illinois. We would ride this thing all day until the battery would die, and then we would just watch the battery charge up and just count down the time until we could ride it again.
All right. Now,
yes.
did there come a time when your mom, and were you close to your mom?
Yes,
The
very
entire
much so.
time?
Yes.
I mean, sometimes kids get along well with their moms.
I wish they would let the other lawyer ask questions. I am in Eastern time, so it is 11:30 or 11:27 my time. So we have about 30 more minutes.
Not so well, usually the former, but you get along with your mom well?
Very much so, yes.
Was she easy for you to talk to?
Yes, she was.
Did you find her to be more on the hard side or more on the
He's more of my indoor
kind of
cat boy.
compassionate side? How would you describe her?
And
He would much rather do Legos.
Well, was she disciplinarian? She made sure you did the right thing, brushed your teeth, all that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And was she soft with you as well?
Yes.
In terms of being affectionate and so
Yeah.
forth.
Yes, very much so.
Did she teach you about your heritage? Being Polish.
She did mention stuff about her heritage, and her dream was to take Maya and I and the family to Poland to see where she grew up, and that was one of her lifelong dreams, was to do that.
With the court's permission, published 2528-106. It's in evidence.
You may.
Now, what's this?
So that would be her childhood home where she grew up when she was a child.
Mm-hmm. And that's you there with your sister?
Yes.
Okay. And do you have relatives still over in Poland, do you know?
Not direct family, but I think possibly cousins.
Okay. And did your mom tell you anything about her life over there or coming over before she came over here?
Yes, she told me how bad it was and how the government had a major say and restricted on everything she pretty much did.
Did she explain to you about
Communism may be bad,
Yes,
children.
Was she happy to come over here?
She was extremely happy to come over here.
Okay. And tell us a little bit more about this trip. Did you, how long did you spend over there?
We spent a month over there, and we basically visited throughout the whole entire country. Like, we wouldn't stay in one area long. We would do all the cool
I mean,
touristy stuff, and then we move on to another location.
No, I
Is your
can't
family
even
fairly
think that.
religious?
Yes, we are.
Were you fairly religious back while your mom was alive?
Yes.
Roman Catholic?
Correct.
Did you go to mass?
Yes, we did.
How often?
We would go to mass every weekend, and then afterwards we would go to Sunday school.
Was that up in Chicago as well as down here?
Correct.
Okay. All right. And what was your church here? Again, Catholic church. Well, what was your church here in Venice?
Was it Catholic? Is that what you're asking? Yes, it was Catholic.
Okay, but what's the name of it?
It's called Epiphany Cathedral.
Okay. All right, and then do you recall moving to Venice?
I do recall moving to Venice, yes.
Okay. At that age, I know you're really young. Let's, with the court's permission, publish 2528-081.
May.
Is this soon after you moved to Venice or around the time?
This is actually before we moved to Venice. We took a vacation to Venice as a family to just check it out. So yes, this was actually before we moved there.
Do you have early memories of Venice?
I do.
And at least up until
Overalls.
passed you, happy in Venice?
Yes.
Okay. So now, you were going to school here. Where'd you go to school? Elementary?
In elementary, I went to Taylor Ranch.
All right.
You
And
see
where are
here,
going
I
now?
haven't even
I'm currently doing
looked
online
today.
school.
I'm at
Before
426,
online,
so I think you need to be
go
at 500. I've got the
junior high or high
watch
school?
hours, so
Yes, I did.
I'll keep
junior
plugging
high
along.
And high school in person before.
Okay. All right, so, up until, let's say the July 4th, 2015, we've talked about here, you've been in the courtroom for, can you tell the jury whether your sister, from your perspective, was healthy and active?
Yes, Maya was extremely healthy and active. We did stuff on the daily together. And from that point, she never complained about any pain or anything.
Okay. Was she pretty, like if she fell down, was she the type of kid that cried a lot, or was she the type of kid who held it in?
Maya was like the type of kid to hold it in. She didn't want to really just bother people about it, so she would hold it in.
Was that true of her throughout the whole time you knew her?
Yes.
Known her?
Yes.
All right. And so you said you did a lot together. Let me show you, court's permission, 2528-117.
Yes, you may.
And this is you two before she got sick,
Correct.
out in the back?
Yes.
Is that something that you two like to do a lot?
Yeah, that was something that Dad, Maya, and I would do a lot.
Fish out back there? Got it. And this is right out back of your house, the little lake?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. All right. So do you recall your sister getting sick? Do you remember that day that she got sick, or were you there?
I remember the day, but not, it's like a little bit of a blur for me, but I do remember certain stuff from that day.
Let's figure out now if Maya was what, about 9 when this happened? You would have been what, 7?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any memories of it?
I do have some memories of it, yes.
What do you recall that day?
I remember her cough that she had. It wasn't like a normal cough like that any other person would have. It was like a very deep, and it wasn't just a cough. It was her like crying and moaning and coughing all at the same time.
We have that clip previously marked in Devon's. What is it? It's 2616. Just can you tell the court?
It's 2616, beginning at 106, ending at 120.
The one we previously played for the court.
Yes. You may play that portion.
And what are we going to hear now? This is the cough?
Correct.
All right, go ahead.
So with me, with my injury, it was at the point of injury, I had the burning electric pain all the way up my hip. But since I fell into a rain culvert and kind of bruised all the way up my side, I attributed that to just having traumatized my entire side. I had the swelling, the color changing, but again, I attributed that to a lot of trauma of falling on the rocks and that kind of thing. I didn't attribute it to anything else. So I had all of the symptoms and qualifiers for the Budapest Protocol right away, but because it can be sort of a cluster and kind of a nebula of symptoms versus, like a direct sort of symptomology tree, they kind of thought, okay, well, maybe you kind of aggravated a nerve, maybe you bruised a bone, maybe, this, that, and the other. So it wasn't until 6 months later, they still couldn't figure out why I was having this recurrent pain, why it was radiating, why it was nearly constant, why it was still such a hard thing to deal with, that they sent me over to a physiatrist, which deals more with the nerve side, and he sent me over to testing. So while I had it immediately, there were still logical first steps that could have been other things. Again, I fell my entire body into a culvert. I was wearing a rucksack with I think I want to say a 15-kilo, weight plate in the backpack. So, you know, I was being all the extra when I fell. Is
Now, Kyle,
me.
tell us about that. Do you recall that episode?
I don't recall that particular one, but I do remember certain episodes that were very similar to that one.
Is that the cough?
Yes, that's the cough.
And when did that cough start? Was this after the 15th, the 2015 4th of July time period?
Yes, that's the first time I heard it, and then it progressed.
Okay. All right. And she had that for a long period of time?
Correct.
Now, after that point, then we're talking about the 4th of July when you first heard your sister get sick. Did you start having to go away a lot for treatments?
Yeah, she was always going away. I just assumed that they were just normal doctor appointments. I didn't really have a understanding on where she was going.
Mhm.
But yeah, she was starting to go away a lot more.
And from your perspective, I know you were 7 or so, but was she continuing to not do well and or getting worse over this period?
Yeah, this whole timeline of events, starting from the 4th of July, it was all a decline from there in her private, her health.
Okay. And did there come a time when you recall her going off to Mexico?
I do recall that time frame, yes.
Now, did you go on that trip?
No, I did not.
So let me show you now. Well, strike that. So she was in Mexico for a period of time?
Yes.
And was that before Christmas of 2015, you recall?
I do not recall exactly.
Okay. But around that time in the winter of 2015?
I believe it was around that time frame, yes.
Well, let me show you trial exhibit 2530-003 in evidence. Move to publish.
You may.
Okay. Oh, and who's all that? Is that Christmas?
Yes, that is Christmas, and that's my family.
All right. Now, she had just come back from Mexico by this time?
Yes, now I remember that, yes.
Okay. Now, tell us about then after this period. She was in Mexico towards the very end of November, beginning of December. I think the evidence will show. And she went to Mexico. I want you to tell the jury about how she did after that, compared with what she was like before she went to Mexico.
Yeah, so after Maya got back from Mexico, she regained a lot of her strength and also along with that, her happiness. And she was able to do stuff she was never able to do before. For example, Maya, like just even like unscrewing a water bottle cap would be very difficult for her. And then after a trip from Mexico, she regained strength back from all over her body, and she was able to do stuff that she hasn't been able to do since she was sick.
Okay, well, let me show you then maybe an example of this. This is, okay, 12, this is trial exhibit 2530-006 in evidence, move to publish.
You may.
Okay, well, this is just about, what, 6 weeks after Mexico. What's significant there about Maya's feet?
They are a lot more straight than they were.
What were her feet like before she left?
They were turned in.
Like how? Like
They were turned in quite a amount, yes.
like
So
and did she have any choice
what
in
she
that?
was
Is that
doing,
something
if your
that she
feet
had
are like this,
control
her
over,
feet
or were they always
would
like that?
No, she had
pronate
no control
in.
over that. They were always like that.
All right, and so now in this photo here, where are you? You're in your pool or someplace else?
Yes, we were in our backyard pool.
Okay, and so how's she doing here? She doing better from what you recall her being before she had the long-term ketamine treatment?
Yes, Maya is most definitely doing better. She was never able to have that much motion with her hands up in the air like that, and she was never able to have her feet that straight.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. Now, before she went off for the ketamine treatments in Mexico, did you know from watching her what parts of her body hurt her?
Yes.
Tell the jury the different areas that you physically saw or learned in some way that she was hurting in.
Yeah, what I experienced is a lot of the pain was in her lower extremities, but there was also pain in her upper extremities, especially with her arms.
Okay. And
So that makes a lot of sense to me because CRPS is generally located in a specific limb, generally one like a leg, an arm. You can have it spread to other legs. You can have it mirror sometimes. Last flare I had that was really bad, I did have my right leg start to mirror some of the pain, which was kind of not the greatest thing. So typically you will have it just be extremity wise. So now, that being said, they don't know a lot about this disease. I think Dr. Gupta, that is going to be on, and we're going to cover his testimony one of these days. You know, I believe he runs a lot of symposia that you can watch on YouTube. Because I did start watching a lot of symposia, but then I realized that I don't have a medical degree. So I had to stop and look up every word that he was, saying. And then I realized that it was a little taxing and I didn't get a lot out of it. But they use a lot of words to basically say, we have no idea what's going on. There are so many different processes in the body that they're not quite sure how they all connect that encompass this kind of syndrome that they're just kind of not sure. So that's kind of
so
fun.
did you see different things other than the bottle cap where she would have difficulty holding herself up?
Yeah, I'm
or
excited for that
getting
one.
herself around?
Yeah, she had like a belt for her wheelchair because she couldn't sit upright. And if there wasn't the belt there to hold her in her wheelchair, it would cause her to fall.
All right. And then if we look at moving on to exhibit 2530-027. Now this is about 3 months later in March of 2016. Move to publish.
You may.
Now what's that?
That is Maya again in her backyard pool.
Okay. And again, her feet, are they looking better?
Yes, they are looking a lot better.
Okay.
And here's where you get a little bit of I'm sure the hospital is going to look at this, and this is where you get a little bit of she's faking it or it's not real, because on good days, she can do this with her legs. On a day she's not having a flare up, it's sunny, she's having her baseline pain that she's gotten used to and you can tolerate, and you can put it in the background. You can put your legs in different positions. You can tolerate that pain and it's fine. for the most part. It's like if you have a mild headache and you can put it out of your mind for the most part. So she can do that. She can, go through life. The problem is that you don't know, at least for me, and I can only speak for me, I'm still new enough that I don't know what is gonna send me over. I don't know what that added extra stimulus is going to be, or, uh, you know, what have you, that will send me into a flare or cause my leg to just go over that, 4 to 5 range into the 7, 8, 9, 10 range f just for reasons. I don't know. And that's the pain in the butt part of CRPS. That's the part that is very, mind effy to deal with, is that you can have a string of wonderful days, and then you can wake up and just have horrible pain, or you can be having a great day, and then, maybe it turns cold or something splashes cold water on your leg, and things go off, or your physical therapist wants to try the TENS unit on your, leg, and you spend a week on elephant levels of, muscle relaxers trying to get your leg to stop twitching. It's just it's a mind F,
Or
if
could
you will.
she move them into that position like that?
She would need help before for her feet to be in
That's
that
a lot
position.
how I try to explain
okay.
it. It feels like a migraine, sort of. It's kinda like that.
All right. Yeah. Let's move on then and see how she's doing then in May 21st, 2016, and at trial exhibit 2530-041 in evidence, move to publish.
You may.
All right, so tell us about Maya's ability to tuck her leg under like that before.
Yeah, Maya was unable to really have like any control over her legs. If she wanted to move them, she would have to ask for assistance to move them.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, she was able to move them on her own.
Okay, so was she getting stronger?
Yes, she most definitely was.
And continuing on, let's take a look at these in order. Yeah. All right. So let's look at trial exhibit 2530-050. In evidence, move to publish. All right. What's happening here?
So that is Maya. She is trying to build upper body strength, doing some exercises on the walker.
Mm-hmm.
And I am there to help her, to assist her, because it's still not exactly possible, but she's very determined.
Okay. So by this point in July of 2016, was she looking forward to, were you looking forward to your sister getting out of that wheelchair and able to move around?
Yes, we all were, yes.
And so were there times, if there were allegations here that somehow that she was faking it or making any of this up, did you ever see her in a situation where the other kids were playing outside and you saw any emotion on her regarding her ability to join in?
Yes, I have seen stuff like that where I would be with my friends doing something outside, and then I could see her watching from the window. Yes.
And how'd she look?
She looked very sad, and I felt extremely bad.
Did she want to get out of that wheelchair?
She was extremely determined to.
So then all the way through here, July, and then did there come a time, within a couple months of this, 6 weeks or so, that she had a setback?
Yes, that's correct.
What happened there?
Her condition just went the complete opposite way.
Did you ever learn why? What set it off?
I believe it was something to do with schooling.
Uh-huh. So it was more on like the psychological side than an injury or something?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And so what was your reaction? Did you think this was going to hopefully pass pretty quick?
Well, I was extremely sad because I thought that Maya was going to get better like any time, because she was doing the best she has been doing since she was 6. So when this whole thing went the opposite way, our whole family was absolutely devastated.
And that right there is the heartbreak. That I will really share with you guys that from when I first broke my ankle to when I got my boot off, and then when I continued to have, you know, several good days and then days where I couldn't walk, I was in so much pain. I mean, before I was diagnosed and then when I was diagnosed, it's such an absolute mind F because you think, "Okay, I'm doing great. I'm doing fine. I don't have any limitations. I don't have this. I can push through, you know, this base level pain. I don't, you know, I don't have limits." And it seems like Maya is stubborn. It seems like Beata was stubborn and, you know, just like the type of people that just push through. And not being able to push through has been one of the hardest things to have to make peace with in my life. In my life, I have never come up against something that I could not just push through. Honest to God, it had been from August to maybe February of this past, you know, year, has been one of the hardest times of my adult life. Just having a situation that I have no control, and it's a betrayal of your own body. Your own body is not listening to you. It's not working with you. I retained all of the Mike and Ikes. I ate all of my feelings, every single one of them. All of them. You know, y I went from being, you know, my life has, and I know this is going into me, but I'm trying to explain how absolutely devastating it is because you do have these periods of good days where you can almost forget. And it's such a colossal mind screw when you're first getting used to it. And it's once you make peace with it, and I've learned to sort of start to look as a type A control freak. I'm sure you I have learned to I am learning to start to make peace with it. Um and I'm getting better with it, and having this outlet has been wonderful because I mean, just in this chat, we have someone that deals with migraines, we have someone that deals with stuff. I mean, everyone is dealing with something, and it's terrible that we're all dealing with something, but it can be so isolating if you feel like you're alone and dealing with stuff, so having this community where I don't have to torture Mr. Mo with trial talk because I think he never wants to hear the name Daryl Brooks ever again. Ever. He might have a restraining order out on me if I ever start talking about the Brooks trial ever again. But having this community has really helped. Well, I mean, I'd rather do a dick dissertation than the Daryl Brooks trial again for a while. But it is lovely to have, you know, a group of people that you can kind of step outside of yourself without going outside and peopling, which win-win. But we are going to have to stop here. We will pick this up. So this is my new thought. My new thought is we are going to do Monday and Wednesday mornings. We are going to do the Take Care of Maya trial. We are going to try to do the more important testimonies. So family, Dr. Gupta, things that you guys tell me. You can always email me or, you know, text me on Twitter or X or whatever the hell is called now. I'm sure it'll be called Y next week when Elon starts dating a new socialist woman. So, you know, whatever. And we will go from there. We will try to summarize days as they come. We will try to keep up, but we will do that on Monday and Wednesdays, and then we will try to do a roundup of the week on the weekends. And this afternoon, we will have the boy in the box. We will try to finish up the afternoon of yesterday. And then tomorrow we will try to do just the boy in the box. And the rest of the week will be the boy in the box. And we'll try to finish that up on the weekend. But that is my goal. Those are goals. But I also still have 6 kids. So, and a puppy and a husband somewhere in the ether. So I will see you all. I'm going to go do glamorous stuff like pick up a kid from Wilderness and do all of that muddy laundry. I know you are just so jealous, just jealous of all the things. I will see you guys later. Thanks for joining me. I know this was a tough one. I'm sure it's going to be even tougher when we pick up with Kyle and go over what happened to his mom. But he has done a wonderful, wonderful job. And, this family has been through a lot. I know I'm not the only mom who has looked at Mount Saint laundry pile and thought, we could all be nudists. I'm sure people wouldn't mind. But I will see you all later. Thanks for joining me. Like and subscribe and share with your friends. And if you have any questions about complex regional pain syndrome, I will try to answer them. I am in no way an expert. I can only give my experience, but I will try. I will see you guys later. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. And don't forget that they are doing that emergency test thingy. So the purge is not happening. I don't think. At least I haven't heard anything. I'll see you later. Bye, guys.